Hello students, in this class we are going to study the light reaction subtopics. They are the photophosphorylation and their types. Next, chemoosmotic hypothesis regarding to ATP production we are going to discuss. Let us start our topic, that is the photophosphorylation. So before going to understand the photophosphorylation, we have to know what is a phosphorylation and when it is going to occur in the living organisms. Let us observe, the living organisms have the capacity of extracting energy from oxidizable substances. Here, oxidizable substances is a chemical substance which is having the energy in the form of bonds. So there are number of examples for the oxidizable substances. They are ATP and NADPH. So if you observe the ATP, that is an adenosine triphosphate, means the adenosine is combining with the 3 phosphates, so it becomes as a ATP. Means here 3 phosphate groups are joined with high energy bonds. So when there is a phosphate bond is broken, then the energy was liberated. That energy was utilized for different functions in the cells. So these things are happening inside the living cell. The process through which ATP is synthesized by cells either in the mitochondria or in the chloroplast is named as phosphorylation. So the reaction I can say, that is adenosine diphosphate plus phosphorus gives rise to ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. So this reaction is happening in case of plant cells. If it is an animal cell only, then mitochondria only occurs. Within the mitochondria, the ATP will be synthesized. Remember, in case of plant cells, both chloroplast and mitochondria are existing. So there is a production of ATP in both chloroplast and mitochondria. Right, coming to the next process, that is a photophosphorylation. Photophosphorylation, the name itself indicating in presence of light. If the phosphorylation is occurring within the chloroplast, then we can call it is a photophosphorylation. So that it is defined here. It is the synthesis of ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate in presence of light with the help of an enzyme, that is ATP synthase. Now let us observe the types of photophosphorylations. There are 2 photophosphorylations are existing. One is a non-cyclic photophosphorylation and one more cyclic photophosphorylation. Let us begin the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. In our earlier class, we studied about electron transport, the jet scheme of electron transport, both connecting the PS2 and PS1. So in this context, the jet scheme of electron and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation are, once again I am going to repeat because both are integral parts, integrated parts. Let us observe them. When the 2 photosystems, that is PS2 and PS1, remember first PS2 is located and then PS1 is joined. Both are connected through an electron transport chain. ATP and NADPH are synthesized due to electron flow, and this process is called non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Okay, here one point we have to remember, why it is called non-cyclic photophosphorylation. As you remember, in jet scheme of electron flow, in this figure you can observe clearly, the electron which was liberated from PS2 was moving along or downhill of energy along the electron transport system, and again it was excited, again it was moving in a downhill manner only, but ultimately accepted by NADP reductase. So when we observe all these processes together, the electrons are moving in a Z manner, means it is not moving in a cyclic way, because in the cyclic way means wherever it was liberated it should come back to the same position, but here it is not happening, it is moving in a non-cyclic way. That's why I am calling this process as a non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Now the non-cyclic photophosphorylation occurs in the grana lamellae, especially in the uppressed region, because in the uppressed region there is a location of photosystem 1, photosystem 2 and NADP reductase enzyme. With the help of diagram I can show you where these are located. Students, carefully observe. So I am showing you the grana, one granum I am showing you. Here the number of thylakoid membranes are joined one by one with the another, and there are two regions we discussed earlier, that is the oppressed region and the non-oppressed region, and fret membranes also. So you are observing that photosystem 1 and photosystem 2 both are located in the oppressed regions, but the photosystem 1 only located in the fret membranes. So this is the major difference which I already discussed in previous video. Right, we'll move to the concept now. So here the oppressed region is containing PS1, PS2 and NADP reductase, remember. Now let us observe. Once again I am discussing with you the electron transport chain and the Z scheme also. So when the electromagnetic radiation, that is light radiation, was absorbed by the accessory pigments, only 680 nanometers was absorbed by chlorophyll A. So from the PS2 the electron was liberated and was accepted by primary electron acceptor, that is pheophytin. Now the chlorophyll will move back here. So here the oxygen is going to be liberated from the water with the help of oxygen evolution complex. That means in the presence of same light only, the water molecule is going to be split into 2 protons, half oxygen and 2 electrons. The electron was accepted by chlorophyll and it was restored. Now the liberated electron was moving downhill, starting from the pheophytin, next plastoquinone, then cytochrome B6F and plastocyanin, etc. Meanwhile, the same electromagnetic radiation which was followed on the photosystem 1 absorbed by the accessory pigments, and only 700 nanometers was given to chlorophyll A. Now the excited electron will be uptaken by chlorophyll X or chlorophyll A, unnamed. Now here the chlorophyll was positive, means it required one electron. That electron was absorbed from the plastocyanin, because already one electron was shifting or moving along the downhill. So that was absorbed by this chlorophyll A. So chlorophyll now restored. Now you have to observe one important thing. When the electron was moving in this way, plastoquinone was undergoing reduction. This plastoquinone not only accepting electron but also accepts one proton from stroma side, and while it is donating to cytochrome B6F complex, it not only donates the electron but also donates its proton. So when this process are happening, when the electron was transporting, the proton from cytochrome B6F complex was released to lumen of thylakoid. This is very important. So one or two important points we studied. The splitting of water molecule released the protons into thylakoid lumen, and proton also transported by means of cytochrome B6F complex into the thylakoid lumen. Now what happened? Here inside the thylakoid lumen, more protons are accumulating. Remember point, because in the chemiosmotic hypothesis we are going to study about the same process. Now ultimately what happened? The electron which was excited earlier, it was moving along the iron sulfur protein and then ferredoxin and then flavin N reductase or flavin NADP reductase. So NADP reductase, it was situated nearer to the outer side of thylakoid membrane, and it accepts one proton from stroma, and that electron also was absorbed from FNR, and ultimately one NADPH was synthesized. So we observed in this complete process, when the electron was moving in the Z scheme, there was one molecule of NADPH was synthesized, and when the protons are more, that protons are important for the creation of proton gradient, which are produced one ATP molecule also. So the same process we are going to study in the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. One ATP and one NADPH was synthesized. Move on to the next process, that is the cyclic photophosphorylation. The cyclic photophosphorylation where only PS1 is functional. This is very important point, students. PS2 was not involving in the cyclic photophosphorylation, and here the electron is circulated or moving in a cyclic way. Wherever the electron was removed, from the same point it will be circulated back. That's why it is a cyclic flow of electrons. So such kind of phosphorylation which is happening when the electrons are moving in a cyclic way. So such kind of phosphorylation we are calling cyclic photophosphorylation, because it is happening again in presence of light. Remember, it occurs in the stroma lamellae. We know that stroma lamellae also called as fret membranes. So within the fret membranes we observed that only PS1 is observed, but there is no PS2, NADP reductase, etc. So this is very important point, students. Please note, and even for the NEET and KCT also this question may be asking. In the stroma lamellae or fret membranes, the PS2 and NADP reductase are absent. Coming to the next point, the excited electron does not pass to the NADP. Again it is important point. The excited electron from the chlorophyll, it is not moving towards NADP, but it is cycled back to PS1 complex only, and the electron is transporting in this phenomena. Observe all of you. Chlorophyll A unnamed, chlorophyll A1, that is quinone, iron sulfur X, iron sulfur A, iron sulfur B. So these are the series of iron sulfur proteins which are located one by one, and next the electron will move to the ferredoxin. Later it moved to the cytochrome B6F complex, and ultimately the final one is the plastocyanin. From the plastocyanin it will move back to the PS1 only. Let us observe the diagrammatic representation. So carefully observe. When the light was falling onto the PS1, so accessory pigments will absorb the light, but only 700 nanometers was donated to reaction center chlorophyll A. Now from the chlorophyll A, the electron was excited to higher energy state. Now what happened? The chlorophyll A plus becomes chlorophyll A plus, because one electron was removed in that part. Now the excited electron is unstable in the higher energy state, was accepted by chlorophyll A, chlorophyll A1, iron sulfur proteins, and then ferredoxin in that way. Now from the ferredoxin, it is not given to NADP. Originally it should given to NADP reductase, but here there is no NADP reductase enzyme, so it directly providing to plastoquinone back. We know that plastoquinone not only accepts electron but also accepts one proton from the stroma side, and that proton and electron will be released to the cytochrome B6F complex, and the electron is donated to plastocyanin, but the proton is donated to the thylakoid lumen, and more thylakoid lumen containing protons inside, and they ultimately gives for the production of phosphorylation, that is phosphorylation of ADP. So in this way the electron is moving back to the chlorophyll only wherever it was released earlier. So the electrons are moving in a cyclic way, and the phosphorylation occurs when the cyclic flow of electrons happening in presence of light. So such kind of photophosphorylation we are calling cyclic photophosphorylation. So these two are very important phenomena. Right, coming to the results of the cyclic photophosphorylation. It results only in the synthesis of ATP, but there is no NADPH formation. Again, very important phenomena. We have to note this point. The ATP only synthesized, but there is no NADPH. And there is a peculiarity. The cyclic photophosphorylation occurs when low sunlight is present or low light intensity is present. And even it also happens when the carbon dioxide fixation is inhibited, means during the anaerobic conditions it is happening, and we are not observing any water molecule splitting and no formation of oxygen also. So in the cyclic photophosphorylation there is no oxygen release, and it is more efficient process for the ATP formation. So 4 ATP molecules are produced per 6 protons transport. Now let us observe the differences between cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Cyclic photophosphorylation only happens if the photosystem 1 is working, and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation occurs in collaboration of both photosystem 2 and 1. The cyclic photophosphorylation, it won't require any electrons, and the electrons are directly transporting to the PS1 only, means the electrons are recycling. The process requires an external electron donor, that is water molecule. We know that the water molecule is splitted by oxygen evolution complex, and the electron was donated to chlorophyll A. So external electron donor is required. Here it is not required. Coming to the next point, it is not connected with the photolysis of water, and therefore no oxygen is evolved. There is a photolysis of water and a liberation of oxygen. It synthesizes only ATP. It synthesizes both ATP and NADPH. It operates under low light intensity, anaerobic conditions, that means when there is no or poor oxygen, and when carbon dioxide availability is poor, means when there is no carbon dioxide fixation or no dark reactions happening, during that time cyclic photophosphorylation happens. It takes place under optimum light, aerobic conditions, and in presence of carbon dioxide only. The system does not take part in photosynthesis except in certain bacteria. Remember, except in certain bacteria, this kind of photosynthesis won't take place. The system is connected with the carbon dioxide fixation in all plants. It occurs mostly in the stroma or intergranal thylakoids. It occurs in the granal thylakoids only. So these are the differences between cyclic and non-cyclic differences. This is again very important question even for the main examination also. So 5 mark important questions these are. Either individually the questions may be asked, explain the non-cyclic photophosphorylation or explain the cyclic photophosphorylation, or sometimes they may ask differences between them also. Now we will move to the next very important point, how the proton gradient that was accumulated in the thylakoid lumen is generating the ATP, because in light reaction we studied that both NADPH and the ATP are synthesizing, and even these are donated to the dark reaction for the fixation of carbon dioxide. So a light reaction is very important for the ATP and NADPH formation. So with the help of this hypothesis, we can easily understand how the ATP is created. Now let us observe. The chemiosmotic hypothesis was propounded by Peter Mitchell in 1961, and he observed in mitochondria and chloroplast. Later he awarded with the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1978 for his discovery. Let us observe what the hypothesis is explaining. The hypothesis is explaining the relationship between potential energy present within a concentration of or concentration gradient of ions or protons across a membrane and the use of this potential energy for the formation of ATP. So let us observe here. I am showing you the thylakoid membrane. This is the thylakoid, one thylakoid. Now one more thylakoid, imagine one more thylakoid is also located. Then it becomes a non-oppressed region. And we know very well, in the oppressed region only both photosystem 2 and photosystem 1 along with the oxygen evolution complex, and towards the stroma side there is an NADP reductase enzyme also. So all are available. So we can easily understand the concept also. Now observe. As I discussed previously with you the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So here I am showing you the diagrammatic representation, and here I am showing the schematic representation side by side. So you can understand easily the concept, how the proton accumulation is taking place, etc. Listen carefully. Here when the light is falling onto the photosystem 2, the excitation of electron will take place in this way, and the pheophytin will absorb and later to the plastoquinone. Now you can observe the plastoquinone, how it is behaving. So it is accepting the electron and even it is accepting one proton from the stroma. So ultimately what happened? It accepts, it is a carrier for electron as well as protons. So now plastoquinone is reduced. Now while it is oxidizing, it donates the electron to cytochrome B6F complex along with its proton. Hope you have understood. So the protons are carried by cytochrome B6F to inner side or thylakoid lumen. This is the space within the thylakoid structure. So we are calling it a lumen. Now we know that in presence of the light only, water molecule is split into oxygen, protons and electrons. So the electron was absorbed by the PS2 for the restoration purpose, but the protons are accumulated in the lumen. So more protons are accumulated in the lumen. This point we have to understand. Now while the electrons are transporting and ultimately it reached the NADP reductase, which is located towards the stroma side, the electron along with the proton from the stroma was absorbed by NADP and NADPH was synthesized. That means the protons are utilized from the stroma. Two sides it was utilized. Okay, that means the protons concentration will be less outside and more protons are present inside or lumen. Now if any membrane is separated by a concentration gradient of any chemical ions, then that membrane will be damaged easily because of this potential difference only. So to avoid that potential difference and electrochemical gradient, so here the ATP synthase enzyme is working to transport the protons from high concentration to low concentration. That means there is a formation of a chemical osmosis or chemiosmosis. That's why this kind of process we are calling chemiosmotic hypothesis. Remember why it is called chemiosmosis, means the chemicals are nothing but protons here. A gradient was created or a potential difference was created. Because of that difference only there is a formation of the movement of protons from their high concentration to low concentration, and meanwhile there is a formation of ATP also. Let us observe that phenomena now. So when the protons are moving along the ATP synthase enzyme, the ATP synthase is having two channels. So one is going to be CF0, that is coupling factor 0 we are calling, which is acting as a channel for the transportation of protons, and the ATP CF1 particle, that CF1 particles always rotates when the protons are moving. So this conformational change and even the facilitated diffusion are very important for the ATP synthesis. So here what happened, once again, when the protons are moving along their gradient from their high concentration to low concentration, that is shown here. So when the protons are transporting along the ATP synthase through the CF0, there was a conformational change in the CF1 particle. So it will rotate. When there is a rotation happens, there is a creation of a bond between adenosine diphosphate and the inorganic phosphate. So there is a new bond is created that leads to a formation of adenosine triphosphate. So mechanical, in simple words we can call, mechanical energy is converted into bonded energy. Why it is a mechanical energy? Because the protons are moving. Because of the mechanical energy only there is a creation of a bond, chemical bond. So energy is going to be transforming from one form to another form. So that is the ultimate thing what we have to learn in this concept. So the non-cyclic photophosphorylation and even in the cyclic photophosphorylation there is a formation of ATP. But in case of non-cyclic photophosphorylation, cyclic photophosphorylation, there is no NADPH formation. Right. In this diagram I can show you the granum. This is a granum and the fret membrane or stroma lamellae. The stroma lamellae is having only PS1, but the oppressed regions are containing both PS2 and PS1 along with the ATP synthase. So you can call ATP synthase as an coupling factor, CF factor also. So if you observe once again how the proton gradient is developing when the water molecule is split, and there is a creation of more hydrogen and accumulation of hydrogens within the lumen. In the next part, when the electron is transporting along the electron transport system, not only electron but the proton also transported. So the electron proton was donated to the stroma side, from the removes from the stroma side was released into the thylakoid lumen. Now more proton concentration is present inside the lumen. So because of the more proton concentration, there is a creation of proton gradient. So the protons will move from their high concentration to low concentration, which we can call as a chemiosmosis. That is a facilitated kind of diffusion. Now while it is transporting along the coupling factor, so there is a synthesis of ATP also. So in this way we can study easily how the ATP is synthesized. Now a last part I want to discuss with you, that is nothing but when one molecule of ATP is synthesized, during that time 3 protons are passing through. Remember, when 3 protons are passing through the ATP synthase enzyme, then one molecule of ATP was synthesized. So in this diagram once again you can check how the cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylations will occur differently in the oppressed regions and the non-oppressed regions separately. So the cyclic photophosphorylation only occurs in the stroma lamellae, and you can observe the ATP synthase location also, but there is no NADP reductase enzyme in these parts. Thank you all of you.